now moving forward into the end of that deployment slash ultimately the most fateful day of your military career injury wise, can you walk us through that program or that time frame?
Yeah, got everything back on track, and we were right at the very end of the deployment. I was screening to go to our tier 1 unit, and that's really what I wanted to do. I also had been actually that night I was supposed to run as the ground force commander for the first time. They were kind of grooming me for that next position, and of course we got word that that the number one leader for Al Qaida was going to be in a specific location, a guy we'd been trying to get all deployment.
Who was it at that point? Was it Zarqawi?
No, this was for Ambar, just
Okay.
for Ambar. I'm sorry, the number one leader for Ambar.
I got you.
I should have said that. So we were getting ready, and that mission, it got delayed, and then finally, like 1 a.m., we got approval. So launched on that mission. We took down the target, and I was on the initial assault, and nothing happened. Like we went in, and just kind of a big letdown, because we really expected pretty heavy resistance. We believed he was going to be there. So saw a lot of activity that we had recently missed him, and then started searching the compound and started finding explosives and IED making equipment kind of buried in some of the outer house and the walls and stuff like that. So it's like 3 a.m. now. The external security team's the EOD guy's gonna blow all that up, and we were like, all right, we're gonna call it a night. It's gonna be a quiet night. And snipers were like, hey man, you got a whole bunch of activity on another house about 150 yards away. We just watched like 5 guys run across the street into some vegetation. So ground force commander, my boss came up and said, hey man, why don't you take your team and we've seen this before, let's go wrap these dudes up and see what they know. So took my team, maneuvered, and was walking into some pretty heavy vegetation. At this point, we had a gunship up overhead, and I'm like, hey man, do you see any weapons? Do you see anything? Nope. Just laying there, not doing anything. I'm like, all right, roger that. So we're pushing through this vegetation, and at some point they're like, hey man, you guys need to turn. You're going to miss them. Okay, roger that. So we go to make this turn, and on our left flank, we had 2 new guys and one of our EOD guys. We didn't realize it in the moment, but they didn't make the turn. I don't know if they weren't listening to the radio or what the deal was, but the in between me was the Terp and another guy, and they were like, hey, those guys are gone. I'm like, what? So yeah, I mean, pretty hairy situation. You've got unknown enemy and us in this vegetation separated now. So my guy on the right flank was like, hey man, I'm on the edge of the field, why don't we push out? And those guys came up, we got them on the radio. I said, do the same thing, push out on the left, let's move up to the north, let's reconnect, then we'll go in and wrap these guys up. So we did that, and we're pushing out of the the northeast corner of this field, and our last couple of guys that were stepping out of the field, literally one of them stepped on an enemy fighter that was laying there in the ambush line and engaged him. And when that happened, it just set off this ambush. So we estimate that it was, 14, 15 guys in this ambush line that had 2 PKM machine guns set up. And I was walking towards the road to link up with the other guys, with our Terp and everybody else kind of behind me when that happened. So our medic initially got hit. He took a round right below the knee, and then one of our other guys ran forward to grab him and start dragging him back, and then he got stitched up, and then I got hit in the arm probably within the first minute, and stitched across the body armor. Started yelling. They were trying to move back. Started laying down fire, and when I was yelling, I think both machine guns got turned on me at that point, and that's when I was taking rounds off my helmet, off my gun. I got my left night vision tube shot off, and turned to move back. The only point of cover we had, so it was nothing but like 1,000 yards of empty Iraqi desert behind us, if not more. And then there was like a tractor tire about 15 yards behind me, like a big, like John Deere style tire. So the guys had fallen back to that, and I turned to try and move back to that. It was at that point that a round caught me in the face, kind of right in front of my ear, traveled through my face, blew off most of my nose, blew out my right cheekbone, broke what was left of the cheek and kicked it out to the right, like shattered the head of it, broke the head of my jaw, shattered my jaw down to my chin, kind of vaporized the orbital floor, broke all the bones above my eye dropped down, and it knocked me out. So, and the guy saw this and thought that I was dead. So I'm unconscious on the ground, and literally this entire firefight's like happening over me. So came to, however long later. And
I'm assuming that was a 7.62 by 54 round that hit you.
Yeah. I was hit. All of them that we can tell, were PKM, which sometimes I think I'm actually kind of lucky, and people are like, "What?" But I was so close, and it was such a high velocity round because AKs have a tendency to tumble. That I actually think it did less damage than it would have.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, an AK round is probably gonna do worse in that area than that round because it's moving slower and it's gonna fucking tumble. Same with like one of the bitches of green tip is the velocity and penetration is such. That's what she said.
For me, it's velocity.
Yeah, it's not so much penetration.
I'm like a rabbit.
Yeah, I'm really fast. It's just not that fucking big. Wait, what? I mean, we shot a guy in Iraq that, I think we didn't count how many holes. There was a fuck ton. I mean, he was a pincushion in his torso, and that motherfucker ran for 60, 65 yards before he went down,
Well, if you look at, if you've done a boar hunting, you shoot a boar with, riddled. We just did that not that long ago. You riddle a boar with 5.56, and they'll run. Yeah, just little
forever. Pinpricks. But, anyway, so one question while this is happening, obviously you recall it well enough to tell the story. When it was happening, was the adrenaline such that there wasn't pain, or could you feel it even in that moment?
So when I was hitting the arm, no, that was super painful. And I realized it. I actually thought my arm had been shot off.
Can you show do you know where it went in?
Oh, yeah. So the rounds, so I was hit by 2 rounds. So one round hit me in the bicep and the other round hit me on the inside of the forearm. So it blew everything out the backside. And what happened when it hit me, my arm, it went back and it caught on my radio, and I couldn't feel a thing. Literally, it felt like hitting your funny bone, but amplify it by 1,000. Literally, I felt like I had been like a gorilla had hit me in the arm with a bat, and then an electrical lightning bolt had traveled up my arm, up the back of my spine, and just slammed me in the back of the head. And then I couldn't feel anything. So when I reached over, I didn't feel my arm. So that's why I originally thought. And then I think when I came to laying on the ground, I was laying on my back. And I have to think I might have been laying on my arm because I also didn't feel it then. I reached for it then because I was thinking to myself, holy shit, you got your arm shot off. Dude, you got to get a tourniquet on or you're going to bleed out. So it was kind of a shock to me. And that's why if you've ever read the Trident at the beginning, I say my arm was blown off, but then I realized, when I get to the hospital, I realized, holy shit, I still have an arm.
Yeah.
So that was super painful. When I came to after being hit in the face, I felt no pain. But I just felt messed up. I was like, dude, you are seriously fucked up. And it took a minute to figure out, hey, I was trying to put 2 and 2 together. What happened, the fog of getting your bell rung and trying to put 2 and 2 back together, and then kind of realizing, hey, dude, you're still in a firefight. Literally, you've got rounds traveling over you. Don't sit up. And for whatever reason, I also, to this day, I don't know why I did it, but I took my helmet off in the middle of that firefight.
That's smart.
Yeah. The life-saving piece of equipment that I have, I took it off.
This is too much protection. I got to take this off.
I don't know why I did. And I actually took a round through the helmet laying on the ground.
Oh, sure.
So my helmet has a bullet hole through it right in the forehead, which is why that's actually drawn on the that's actually drawn on the skull, but it was actually in my helmet. So the damage to the skull, that's actually taken off the CT scan. But then my buddy who drew that drew it in the skull.
For those of you on the YouTube version, I'm going to hold it up as close as I can. This is the coin that Jay gave me just before we sat down, but it's really cool. He's got like you said, the bullet hole in the skull and in the face where he was just talking about getting shot. But I appreciate the coin. That's fucking really cool, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
All right, so you come to. Is the gunfight still taking place over top of you when you wake up? Is it still? You're just like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
What? So what did you do at that point after you take your helmet off and decide? Did you try to get on the radio or what happened?
No, I called out. There was a lull in fire, and I called out to my team lead. We'll call him Al, and they were like dumbfounded. He's like, "Holy shit, you're still alive!" And I knew how messed up I was, and I was like, "You don't have a whole lot of time." So I called out and kind of in a lull, and then I yelled out, "How long to the Medevac?" And he was like, 5 minutes. Fucking liar. I think he told me 5 minutes at least 3 or 4 more times.
That reminds me of the movie Money Pit, right? How long is it going to take? 2 weeks. Fucking nine
that was a great
later.
movie. Yeah.
Every 2 weeks, like, how much longer? 2 weeks. A year later, it's fucking still going.
But yeah, it was, shit show. And, I would not be here if it wasn't for the guys. They did a great job fighting back. My team leader actually ran forward in the lull and fire and got me and dragged me back and got a tourniquet on my arm. And the guys, our medics shot. So they were the ones trying to figure out, I think they packed my face with Curlex and, tried to figure out what the hell to do with me. And then we ended up calling in, well, actually it was in between fire missions. We ended up calling in the fire mission and it ended up being, 8 or 9 fire missions. But it was, we literally had to call directly on our position. The gunship, I was only 45 feet from the machine gun that had me pinned down and they were about 15 yards behind me. And the gunship denied the first 2 requests. And they were like, dude, you guys have to figure out how to move back. Like, you're so danger close, we're going to kill you. Yeah. And my team lead called back and was like, bro, like, there's no place to go. Like, there's nothing. Like, it's nothing but empty Iraqi desert. Like, we got dudes that are bleeding out and we're running out of ammo. The gunfight lasted about 40 minutes, I guess.
So, and you were hit right at the start. So, there's probably 30, 35 minutes that you were laying there fucked up.
Yeah. And I don't know how long I was unconscious. So I don't know. It was 5 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever. But so anyways, they called in these firemen. And I remember, kind of surreal. Al called out to me and was like, incoming. And you can hear, you've been out there, you can hear the gun go off. And then like this period of time while it's coming down, and then all of a sudden it like impacted, like literally it felt like right in front of me. And blew up over us, but the first volley of rounds took out the machine gunner that was, at least injured him. I could hear, he stopped firing and I could hear him yelling. He was calling out to Allah and I do remember thinking, stand by, fucker. And then they called in the next volley. And I think it was somewhere in there when Al ran forward and grabbed me and got me back to the tire, got a tourniquet on my arm.
Was there a specific award for Al doing that?
So I wanted him to get a Navy Cross. It got downgraded to a Silver Star. Yeah. And our other guy got a Silver Star also for pulling our medic back in that. To this day, I will always stand that Al deserves a cross. Yeah. I've talked to my boss my boss at that time who's still active duty. Can we go back someday and resubmit? Yeah. So
fucking A, man. All right. So the second volley of fire extinguishes the enemy ambush pretty well.
Yeah. And then they call in a couple more. And then finally we call in the Medevac. Medevac lands about 75 yards from us. Al comes up and tries to help me get up, which it was at that point I felt the pain again when he started moving me. I was like, holy shit, that hurts. I'm like, dude, stop. Like, let me get up. And got up and walked to the helicopter. I told him, kind of funny shit you think about, but I was like, dude, grab my arm and grab my helmet. And I'm sure he was like, well, your arm, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I remember walking to the helo and like I was hunched over because I was bleeding so badly. And I just, to this day, I can still kind of see this visual of all this blood just pouring out of my face as I walked to the helo. And I was first one to the helo. They were obviously because both the other guys had leg injuries, so they were helping them. And I remember grabbing onto that door handle of the 60, and it was a TF 160 of Medevac. So big shout out to those guys. So they got me in, and they sat me up against the far wall next to the door gunner. And then they put in our other two guys. Well, it wasn't really configured for 3 dudes. It was configured for 2. So they couldn't shut the door. So this is where I don't remember parts of this story, which is interesting because years later I got to meet the Medevac crew.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I managed to track them down, and I got to meet both the door gunners and the flight medic on that helo. And they filled in gaps, and they said, yeah, you know, he was feverishly working between the 3 of us. And what he did is he had me put my thumb up on my chest, and he made the door gunner like keep an eye on me, like, and if my hand dropped, like to yell at me. Cause yeah, dude, I was telling myself, stay awake, stay alive. And I was convinced, cause everything in me was like, just go to sleep. But I knew if I went to sleep, like I'd never wake up again. But I didn't know it, that I was drifting in and out of consciousness. So they would like yell at me, and I'd get my thumb back up and, you know, fucking bleed all over myself. But interesting thing that they told me, which is kind of, one, they didn't know who we were. They just knew we were SEALs, and they didn't know if we survived or not. Like it only was years later when I managed to track them down and said, hey man, and they were like, oh my God, we totally remember
like
that.
a crazy ex-girlfriend, Phoenix rising from the ashes. Exactly. You track those fuckers.
Some asshole. But they told me, and this I found, I don't know, crazy. I never would have thought about this. So because the door was open and we were all bleeding like stuck pigs. I mean, I was shot multiple times. Our other guy was shot multiple times, and the medic was, you know, pretty severe injury, you know, below his knee. Like we were bleeding all over the inside of that helo, and the wind was swirling through. So it literally covered everything in the helo in blood. They said when they got to Baghdad and landed, like they were all coated in blood. Wow. And he said it took like a month to try and get the blood out of everything.
Yeah. The AC vents, fucking Q-tip the AC vents. I mean, that sounds like a scene out of a fucking movie. You know?
Yeah.
Were the other 2 guys, the corpsman and the other bro of yours, did they make it okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they did great.
Did they go back to full duty or did?
They didn't go. One of the guys, I think he tried to go back to full duty the fastest, and then he actually tried to screen like a year later, and the day he screened was like the worst weather. I mean, like a monsoon hurricane was hitting when those guys did that screening, and he didn't make the cut. So he went out to the West Coast, and everything I've heard, he's still doing great. Yeah, so that's good. The other guy he did a couple more platoons, and then now he's out and he's doing good. I talk to him on a regular basis.
That's good. All right. So what was the last thing you remember from that Medevac ride? Do you remember unloading off of it and going into?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. There was an incident that for years I kind of questioned if it actually happened. So, and there are pieces. It's almost like you see clips in a movie in your mind. Like I remember I wasn't able to walk when I got off the helo. So they unloaded me off the helo and they put me on this little cart. And I remember riding on that cart, looking up, and our medic was with me. And I remember he was like yelling at me. And we went under like this underpass, or I don't know, could have been a rooftop going into the bay or whatever it was. But I remember there was a dude like smoking a cigarette, like looking down at me. Like I remember that vividly. And then I remember them like taking my gear off. Like they got to remove all your gear. So I remember them like cutting all my gear off. And I was just like, dude, stay awake, stay alive. You're almost there. And they got me into the operating room, and like all this activity occurred. And like, I'm like, hey dude, I am good. Like I can let go now and I can die and they'll save me. Like I had watched this show called Baghdad ER, or I don't know if you ever saw it, but it was like they were following our medical, teams in Iraq. And I remember the statistic that I had seen that they said, hey, man, our guys are so good that if you show up with a pulse, you got a 90% chance of making it. So that was like what I was focused on in my mind. So I got there and I'm like, dude, I'm good. Like I can die now because I showed up. Check.
Yeah.
Winning, and they'll save me. So like I started to let go, and I just remember like this darkness and just drifting off. But right about that moment, I felt this tug on my left side, and I kind of look up, and this nurse is standing there and yells out, "He's still got a bomb on him." And dude, everybody runs out of the operating room. Like everybody, like it was like something out of a fucking Looney Tunes cartoon. And I remember thinking, are you shitting me? Like, dude, like I've got nothing. Like I'm like dying. And that was like my last thought.
Yeah.
And so years later, I actually found that nurse. Like she reached out to me and was like, hey, I was one of your nurses in the operating room. I was like, tell me this happened. And she was like, yeah, I was your nurse.
Dude, that is such a trip fucking years later to link up with people that play that pivotal of a role.
I've tried to track down a lot of the people. I'd love to still find, I haven't found all the doctors. I'd like to find some more of the doctors that were in the operating room that saved me.
Yeah, it's a trip. That's powerful.
Yeah.
So what was the next thing you remember after that? Germany or all the way back at Walter Reed or?
No, the next thing I remember, I was pretty lucid. There are periods that I don't remember, but I remember waking up in Baghdad, and my CO and Mass Chief were there. And so they were, they're there and I'm talking to them, or I wasn't talking. As a matter of fact, I do remember the very first thing. I remember looking at my arm and being like, holy shit, I still got an arm. Like, cool. And then I remember I tried to speak and I couldn't talk. And the nurse was like, hey, yeah, you've been all shot in the face. You're trached and wired shut. You're not going to be able to speak. So I was like, all right, well, let me write something down. So they gave me a notebook and I wrote down 3 questions. I wrote down, are the guys okay? Has my wife been notified?
Do I still have a dick?
And well, almost. I said, do I still look pretty? So,
well,
you never really had one. So no, and they were like, no, you were never that pretty anyways. But,
did they answer him?
Yeah.
That's what they said.
Yeah, they were like, hey, guys are good. They were like, they're out of surgery and they're stable. The CO was like, I've talked to your wife. She knows. And they said, no, you never look pretty. So, so I remember that. I remember what I don't remember is they moved me from Baghdad to Balad. I don't remember that at all. I do remember waking up in Balad in the ICU because the guys came up to Balad and I got to see them, and that was pretty awesome. And then I don't remember going from Balad to Germany. I don't remember that at all. There's no memory of that. As a matter of fact, pretty cool. One of the nurses in Balad, I mean, here's a crazy story. I go play in a golf tournament last year, and this dude comes up to me and he goes, hey, man, I was one of your nurses in Balad. And I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, I don't remember any of that. And he pulls out his phone and shows me a picture of me.
No
like,
shit.
like on loading. He's like, I loaded you on the bus to Germany. I was like, dude, I don't remember that at all. And yeah, and I'm in the, I got all this contraptions and shit on me.
Yeah. Wow.
So I don't remember that at all. The flight home was miserable. I do remember that. I thought I was going to suffocate. If anybody's ever had a trach, they suck. You get a lot of mucus and congestion, and if it's not constantly cleaned out, especially I think if you're not used to it, and I was not used to it, like when you move, it causes coughing fits, which I think creates more mucus and shit. And the whole flight, I felt like I was going to suffocate.
This makes me want to go have a smoke real quick.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Good luck to those of you who like, lung cancer's a bitch, baby.
It's making me want to clear my throat just hearing you tell the fucking story.
So, and I wore that trach for 7 months and 2 days.
Fuck.
Sucked.
7 fucking months.
So,
did you get to the point where you're cleaning it out yourself, or you really can't?
My wife was.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, my wife is a saint.
Trooper.
She was my best nurse. When they finally brought me home, I still had the trach. I was still wired shut. I had an external fixator. I had a stomach tube that they were feeding me through, and my wife was, she was my main nurse that was helping me with all that.
Fucking amazing. So 7 months. And is that how long you were at Walter Reed, or from the time you got injured until you made it home? It was a 7-month period.
No, it was 8 weeks. I was at Walter Reed or Bethesda. It hadn't switched over yet. So 8 weeks, and then they sent me home, and I started all the outpatient stuff. And that was, I'll be honest, that was a little intimidating, because I didn't feel like I was ready, man. I could barely walk. Yeah. Most of the time I was still in a wheelchair. I still got all these tubes. They wanted to cap the trach so I could start breathing from my mouth, and that was a weird experience too. Yeah. They said, hey man, we've come to find that people tend to heal better when they're home. They're more relaxed, more comfortable. I will admit, a hospital sucks, dude. Yeah. You're every 5 minutes, somebody's poking and prodding you. And so, I went home after 8 weeks, and then it just started, it was almost 40 surgeries over 4 years.
Wow. Are you at a point now where you still have to have like any maintenance surgeries or anything, or is it pretty much you're finished with that?
Yeah. I think I'm done. There are people that talk about scar revision, and, it's been interesting. Over the years, I've had a couple of orthopedics doctors that are like, oh yeah, we can give you more movement. And then they take a look at the x-ray and they're like, holy shit. Like, we don't know how your arm functions.
Yeah. What is the deal with the limited range of movement? Is it because of metal and such in it, or what?
No, most of the metal's been removed. I do still have some remnants. I do still have some pins, and I had a screw that broke off and stuff like that's in there. I still have metal pins in my jaw, which is kind of interesting to look at under the x-ray. I still have screws in my skull. Yeah. But for the arm, so pretty amazing. I got to give a shout out to this guy, and this is a pretty high level of medicine, in my opinion. There's some doctors out there that I think are pretty arrogant. I think they get some of that God complex, and they're like, I can do anything. And the only reason I still have an arm is because the head of orthopedics at Bethesda at the time was a former SEAL. Wow. And he was like, yeah, my team's like, we should amputate your arm, because when I came to, I had no use of my left hand, and they were like, your elbow is destroyed. They could not have done a better job. This bullet shattered the head of my ulna and radius, and this bullet took off a huge chunk and shattered the head of my humerus. Oh, okay. So like literally the two parts that make an elbow, or the three parts, if you will, it just kind of destroyed. So they were going to amputate, and then this doctor, his name's Dan Blake. He's out now. I name him in the book. He's an amazing guy. He became a friend. He fought to save my arm, but it reached a point where he was like, Jay, I don't know what else to do anymore. I grew a whole bunch of extra bone growth, something called heterotopic ossification.
Can you spell
that? No.
For the audience, I know how to spell it. But
that's I just want to let you know that's a 47-point word in Scrabble.
Jesus Christ.